What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for week 10 of building the Battle of Jabiim in Lego. This week I'm going to be jumping all over the place. I'm going to be doing some rock work on the front, showing you guys some progress on the second story of the main base, and finally putting some foliage into the ravine. I've been wanting to do that since the first few weeks, but there have been some things that have kind of gotten in the way of that, and I'll be talking more about those in today's update. And there was unfortunately an accident with Jabiim. All that being said, should be an action-packed episode. If you're excited to see what goes down, don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button. And while you're down there, if you're watching for the first time, consider subscribing and tapping that little notification bell so you will know as soon as my next video drops. All that being said, it's time for me to get to work. It's time to close the rockwork gap on the front. So I accidentally broke Jabiim the other day while I was moving it, and I really need to connect the whole thing so that all of the rockwork is connected to make the base and the rock walls stronger and make it so I can move it around more safely. I'm still using that same front to back slope technique, and I really like it. It's definitely something you're going to see in future mocks. Well, after about 9 weeks, I have finally connected this ring of rockwork. I just barely finished up this front section. Now this section over here is a little bit shorter. So today, tragedy struck as I was moving Jabiim. I was trying to position it to where I wanted it to work on it. And this entire chunk fell off the back of the table. I was basically trying to turn it around and just whoosh. Not only did it fall off, it just shattered. Like this main chunk right here was okay, but this corner right here and this corner and kind of part of that section all just broke. So I had to basically just rebuild it all. I didn't take the time to look and see how I built it before because I knew that would take forever. So I just tried to rebuild it. This back part turned out all right. What I am less satisfied with is this section over here. It looks good. I just kind of liked how it looked before. It had a bunch of different wedge plates kind of on top of each other over here in this corner. I just really liked that little look, but overall it turned out okay. There was one silver lining to this, however, and that was this section breaking right here, because I was actually going to go back through and tear up part of this rockwork so I could put in a vine. I'm going to try using some headlight bricks and some of these olive green plant pieces and build a little vine that starts down here and just kind of, works its way up to the top of the cliff with a little patch of foliage down there. So that's nice. Part of that wall got, a little section of that wall got demolished for me. That was actually part of the reason I had put off plating this, is because I knew I had to come over here and do that. But it is nice to have this whole front section of rockwork finished, because now I can really see the finished product and what it's going to look like, and I'm pretty satisfied with it. There are only a few things I'm going to change. Moving on to the base, I got some more of the second story finished. I really like how the walls of the upper floor turned out. I think they look better than the bottom floor. I've just been able to practice my masonry brick placement as well as my headlight bricks and other bricks, and it just it fits the vibe of what I'm going for better. However, now, that being said, now that I'm looking at it, I definitely put too much olive green on this because there's not as much down here, so I may end up taking some of that out and replacing it with dark tan. I did put some little windows in here. Originally, I wasn't going to put any windows, but that was mostly just because I was lazy and didn't want to, actually build some. They're pretty simple, just some slopes and inverted slopes, but they had some nice detail to these walls and helped break them up. I don't remember if I already mentioned this, but I did leave this section open because I'm going to have a ladder leading from this second story down to the first story. That wraps up everything I wanted to show you in this little update. I am going to get back to working on plating off this area and getting that upper terrain on this front section finished. I've been trying to improve the transition from upper terrain to rockwork in this mock by adding more tile and having less exposed studs around the edge. This means I have to stop the terrain plates about 4 to 6 studs away from the edge and fill in that empty space with tile to get a smoother and more realistic transition from rockwork to terrain. This is a little bit more challenging, as normally, instead of just being able to run the plate on top of the rockwork, I have to stop it short and make sure the edge of the plate is secure and isn't flopping around. And then I also have to make sure that, the tile has a secure connection to the rockwork. Basically, it just means more steps, but in the end, I think it'll pay off. Also, I'm finally adding some foliage to the ravine. I'm really excited to do this, and I am gonna start by fixing the rock wall that was broken and putting in a headlight brick that's going to hold the base of a vine that's gonna run from the bottom of the ravine up to the top with kind of a cluster of plants down around the base of it. Here is the final progress check for the week. I am really happy with what was done this week. So here is the finished terrain that I was working on. I don't know how well you're able to see from the time lapse, but I basically had to stop I have to stop the plate short here and then throw in this little section of plate right here so that I can have a nice gap to put in my tile. I had to put some filler brick down here underneath. Luckily, with doing rock wall, you have kind of this exposed filler brick on the inside, which made for a nice little ledge that I was able to build on and then stick the tile on top of that. As I'm filming this, I just now realized I need to take out this piece because it runs all the way to the edge like that, and I want to keep some tile, and I want to have tile between the plate and the slopes. I'm hoping to have it look more like this. I want to have more wedge plates, and tiles running on top of this plate and coming out on top of the tile a little bit. So there's kind of a little bit more of a gradual transition from the edge tile to the plate instead of this sharp line. And I was able to get this vine built. I think it looks really good. I am happy with how it turned out, and I feel like I was able to capture that curving, twisted vine look pretty nicely. And then down here at the base, you've got a little cluster of plants. So the way I was able to capture this shape with the vine is by using a bunch of these 1x2 rounded plates and hooking them together. That allowed me to curve and bend this wherever I wanted it to, and it meant that I only needed one headlight brick down here at the bottom instead of having to have a bunch of headlight bricks sprinkled out throughout the rock to hold all these different plants. So I could pop this whole thing off if I wanted to. And then up here at the top, I do have one little vine piece. I'm not sure how I'm going to transition it up here. I don't know if I'm going to have it stop or if I'm going to have more plants up here, but now that I have this in place, I can finish off this terrain area. That's pretty much everything I have to show you guys. Ooh, here is one of my custom Jedi. If you haven't seen this video yet, I would highly recommend checking it out. It shows you how to build some custom cool looking Jedi like this for fairly cheap. All that being said, let's hit the outro. There's just something about putting down foliage that's really fun and really satisfying. I think it's because you can create such a cool picture with foliage, a cool image or mock or whatever you want to call it. And you have so many different parts at your disposal to create all different kinds of cool looking plants. So it was really fun to put that vine in particularly, and I'm excited to do more stuff like that in future updates. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about this episode, and I'll catch you guys next time. But until then, happy building.